Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead on Porch Time today. Guys, today I want to talk about something that's probably the most touchy subject in human history. And that is, I want to talk a little bit about finances and money. If you want to get under somebody's skin really fast, or make them angry really fast, you start dealing with their money. It seems like there's nothing any closer to the human heart than money. We all have to have it. Some of us have more of it than others do. Some of us don't have any at all. Some of us are in physical conditions where we're very limited about what we have. Some of us are in physical conditions and we have more than we need. I mean, you know, it's like, I've seen people who are disabled and they're really rich because some doctor made a mistake and they sued them and they ended up with just more money than they'd ever spent. You know, and then I've seen people that's disabled and they have nothing. I've seen able-bodied people that don't have anything. They just sit on the couch all day, wait on somebody to take care of them. And then I've seen able-bodied people that are so financially successful it's just unreal. I've seen some people struggle all their life to try to make ends meet and never be able to make ends meet. And I've seen some people not even try at all, and they just seem like everything they touch turns to gold. You know, I mean, I've seen all of those things. Money, let's just, first of all, what is money? Money is just simply one thing. It is a medium of exchange. It is the goods that's exchanged for one service for another service. Money's been many things throughout history. It's been bronze, it's been silver, it's been gold, it's been salt, it's been paper bills. You know, I mean, money's been a lot of different things throughout history. And the powers to be are usually the ones that control the mass quantities of money. The people who are rich usually rule over the people who are poor. It's always been that way. It's not anything that's ungodly or anything like that. It's just the way it is. The Word of God tells us a few things about money. It tells us that the love of money is the root to all evil. Now, listen to what that says. The love of money is the root of all evil. It never once says that money is evil. It never says that having a lot of it makes you evil. It doesn't say that having a little of it makes you evil. It says the love of it is what leads to evil things. Because people will do anything for money. The love of money is the root of all evil. It will lead you to do things that you normally would not do if you don't have it. Some people go, "Oh, I would never do that." Well, never say never, because if you're hungry and you have kids and they're hungry and you have to do something off the wall to earn an income, people will do it, not because they want to, but because sometimes they just have to. And the love of it will literally lead you to do things that you should not ever do. And some people are just greedy. You know, they literally cannot ever have enough. The more they earn, the more they want. Now that is human nature. Wanda's always saying that about me. She's always like, "Danny, you're never satisfied." It's like, the more you do, the more you want. And I told her, I said, "Baby, that's just human nature." You know, my dad told me to never settle for second best. Always be the best. Nobody ever remembers who second place is. They only remember who first place is. So, you know, I always strive. You know, the Bible says, "Whatever thy hands findeth to do, do it with all thy might." You know, as if you were doing it unto the Lord. And when I do things, and I do projects, if I build things, whatever, I just go 150% all the way because I feel like I've been blessed enough to do it. Then I want to be able to do it. But then you have certain verses in the scriptures that says, like the Apostle Paul says, he says, "I've learned in whatsoever state I'm in, therewith to be content." You know, and right before that, he talks about, I've learned to live with a little, and I've learned to live with a lot. There's going to be lean times in our lives. There are a few, I guess there are exceptions of people who are just always wealthy. They were born into it, and they don't know what it is to do without. I do understand the aspect of just pure wealth. The oldest saying goes, "Oh, they were born with a silver spoon in his mouth." I have a neighbor up here that people say that about, which is the furthest thing from the truth. Now, his daddy was wealthy, but his daddy didn't give him anything. As a matter of fact, his daddy made fun of him when he got ready to start a business, and now the guy's a multimillionaire, and he's worked hard for what he has. He really has. So you have to be careful about what you say when you see people with money, because you don't know the whole story behind how they got it. The scripture has a lot to, the matter of fact, the Bible has more to say about money than it does about salvation. It says that wealth that's earned very quickly soon will grow wings and it just flies away. In other words, that's what happens to people who inherit lots of wealth. Lots of times they don't know what to do with it, and they just go out and they spend it, and next thing you know, they're poor. People who win the lottery or whatever, they win lots of money at something, and the next thing you know, they're rich, and then the next thing you know, behind that, they're poor again, because they had no ability to manage anything. People used to say about one of my grandfathers, they said, he's so tight that, he's tighter than a bark on a hickory tree, or, because my grandfather was that tight. He literally wouldn't spend a dime on nothing. He didn't have much, but he wouldn't spend a dime on nothing. And I'm the kind of person, if I spend $1, I want to see $5 come back in its place, or $10 come back in its place. I don't want to just go out and spend $1 and it's just gone. Like we were sitting here, for the 4th at the house here, and we hear it all around us here. Fireworks are going up, just booming, booming, booming. They're going off everywhere around us. And I told Wanda, I said, you know what? They might as well have just took $20 bills out there and just took a big lighter and burned them and watched them burn. Because that's what you ended up doing. You ended up burning your money because it just went up in smoke. People don't grasp the concept. I don't spend money on things that don't make money back, or if I want my money I want to see my finances go into something I can tangibly put my hand on. I don't want to see it wasted. Now, one of the things I want to, disclaimer I guess I should make today, is this is in no wise financial advice for anybody. I'm basically going to talk about myself, what I've learned about finances. I'll tell you about some advice that I've got. My father gave me some advice. He said, son, don't ever ask financial advice from a poor person. I've always heeded to that. Any financial advice I've got, I had some friends that were millionaires. I went and I talked to those people. They gave me good, sound financial wisdom. And I think about my dad. My dad had a 4th grade education. The man could have been a millionaire, but he just didn't know how to handle anything financially. He didn't know anything about finances. He invented several things, and he never patented nothing. And they went on to become very famous during that period of time which he lived. And I look back, I said, Dad, you should have just patented that. And he goes, oh, son, he said, I don't want no money. He did not want anything like that. He was perfectly content where he was at. But he told me, he said, there's a difference in being content, and there's a difference in being poor and being proud that you're poor. He said, don't ever be proud that you're poor. He said, there's nothing wrong with being poor, but don't be proud that you're poor. And I've always tried to heed some of that advice. I started out as a young man, I didn't have anything. I didn't. Very small income working. I worked in a logging woods for 15 years, working heavy equipment, toting chainsaws, sawing logs, hauling logs and stuff to this nature, making very small income. Wasn't never much. But I advanced from that and on up into, you know, doing other types of construction work and different things like that after we shut the logging industry down. And it's all about growing financially. I had to, you know, a lot of people say, well, somebody left, you inherited this. I've never inherited nothing in my life. My dad never left me anything. It just, anything I have, I had to work and I had to buy and I had to pay for. But y'all have always heard me say on some of the videos that I've made that my children's children, my grandchildren, will never see the opportunities that we saw during my generation. And a lot of the millennials will never see the opportunities that we've seen. When I first started out as a young man, I lived in a little old 12 by 56 house trailer. Little 2x2 walls thing, you know, just a little thing. I paid $3,500 for it, you know. And man, I was in hog heaven. My daddy let me put it on a piece of property there where he lived at, and I got married and, you know, had a kid, and I thought, this is life, you know. And the lady that I was married to, her daddy was a very wise, financially very wise man. Wasn't poor by no means, and I sought advice from him, and I told him, I said, sir, I said, you know, I said, I want to have things in life, but, you know, I'm just not sure if I want to go through everything that people have to go through. And he said, son, he said, let me tell you something. He said, I'm not trying to be critical of your family or anything like that. He said, but your family's a poor family. And I told him, I said, yes sir, they are. And I admitted that they were. And he said, do you want to be like that the rest of your life? And I said, no sir, that's why I'm here to talk to you. I said, I really do not want to end up like that my whole life. And he said, then you got to get out of that mentality. He said, there's a certain mentality that goes along with not having, with not being financially successful. He said, I watched you in a financial deal here a while back. He said, you should have landed that job, and you did not land it because your emotions got in the way of the man who was in front of you. The man in front of you made a comment to the guy. He says, my family's struggling and I really need this job. He says, and you let that job go for that man to have because you just had a good heart. He said, that man don't pay your bills. He said, your family's going to struggle just like he's struggling. He told me, he said, if it's out there and you want it, you go for it. He said, don't wait on nobody else. Don't wait on the government. Don't ever wait on the government. Don't ever do that. And he says, and don't let anybody stand in your way. If you see a goal and you want to achieve it, then go for it. And stop at nothing. You don't ever want to work for anybody else. You always want to work for yourself. And I told him, I said, sir, I don't know, you know, I mean, I worked for my dad and I had a logging business. He said, forget logging business. He said, there ain't no money in it. He said, it's very dangerous. He said, you want to get into something that has lots of money involved in it. And I never could, you know, I just didn't. I did construction. It was still very risky, a lot of it. And I tried to take what advice I could from the man. But that type of advice is not for everybody. You know, somebody's got to work for somebody else, and that's the way I look at life. I mean, when I've always owned my own business. I've never actually technically worked for somebody else. I've always been self-employed. I took that advice from him, and it has a lot of benefits with it, but along with it comes a lot of headaches. The person who got off at 5 o'clock every day from working an 8-hour day and went home, their day ended right then. They didn't have to think about that job till tomorrow when they go back. When you own your own business, you have to think about that job 24 hours a day. You know, and that was the big deal. I was like, man, there was lots of times. As a matter of fact, one time I shut down all my business and I went and contracted for somebody else. Even though I was still self-employed, I contracted for them because I just got tired of people calling me all the time. And I wanted that 8-hour day. And finally I realized that I said, you know what, I got to go back to owning my own business because that's just, you know, that's just who I am now. And so guys, What does it mean in the present world that we live in today to be financially secure or financially successful? That means two totally different things. To be financially secure and to be financially successful is two totally different things. Now, and it means different things to different people. That's just the thing. There is no one answer for being financially secure or financially successful. Some people feel like that if they're financially successful, they have a good job, they have good benefits, they have everything that they want and they're financially successful. Some people, like me for instance, now this is my opinion, I feel like that if everything I have is paid for and I don't have high notes, I don't have any notes, and I own anything I ever wanted, then I'm financially successful. Some people think to be financially secure that you've got to have a big nest egg and you've got to have all types of benefits to fall back on and to be able to not have to worry about anything to be financially secure. Me, financial security doesn't mean that. To me, financial security means I can lay my head down at night because my home is paid for, my land's paid for, my vehicles are paid for, my stuff is paid for. I pay cash for what I do. That means I'm financially secure with myself. I'm secure. I don't worry about a lot of things. I'm not like the person who has a huge house note, and because I've been that person, that has a house note and has got to go to work every day, so many hours a day, and trying to, just be there every time, whether sick or not. You got to be there because you got to pay that house note. You don't pay that house note, you're not going to have a place to live. So, financial security, financial success, financial, benefit, things like that, they all mean different things to different people. I don't think there's any one true answer for any of it. People go, well, what about investments? Used to, I could have sat down with anybody and I would have told you, you can put your money in HMMs or CDs or anything like that, and we could have walked through it, and I wouldn't have thought a thing in the world about it. But in the world today, it's a different world today that we live in. HMMs, the high money markets, are very risky now. Especially, it depends on different ones, have different risk factors to them. CDs don't really earn hardly anything, but they're extremely secure usually. Then you have lots of people that, because the interest rates are so low on everything, that they don't invest their money in anything. CDs paid, I think they were paying like 0.5% for 1 year or something like that. If you did 5 years, you could get up to 1%. And some people go, it's just not worth it to me to even put my money into anything like that. And they go and they put their money in a safe deposit box in the bank. Because they just wouldn't, they didn't want to invest it because the market's just too risky to invest in, because sometimes you've got a bull market, and you've got different kinds of markets that you deal with all the time, and you can earn a high amount of money one day, you turn right around and lose it all the next day. And then you've got people who, at this point, they're investing in blockchain, cryptocurrencies. A lot of people got in when it was really good, and they're making lots of money with it right now. I will say this, I believe cryptocurrency will eventually be the way of the future. I believe the petrodollar will eventually collapse at some point. We're beginning to see things like coin shortages now. They're saying, I've talked to my banks, my bank tells me they don't know anything about that. They did tell me that at the post office, a lady who was working there did tell me that they had a problem getting $10 bills. The bank told them they just didn't have them. That I did find out, but then lots of people, or my subscribers, y'all were telling me that in your states, there's coin shortages going on and stuff like that. Now, and if it is, it's all leading up to just a one world currency. Let's just be honest about that. They're trying to figure out how to make it happen. Where are you financially? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Where are you financially? Are you the kind of person who can handle finances. I think you have to watch where you spend your money. I mean, and you have to. Money's one of those things that if you took sand in your hand and open your fingers up and it just falls through your fingers. You know, money's the same way. Money just goes through your fingers. I mean, it's hard to earn. You can work and work and work, and man, it's hard to make it, and it can be gone just like that. You spend it, it's gone just like that. It's easy gone. There are lots of things that a person can have financial success even if though they have small amounts of money. First of all, I mean, I'll have to use me as an example because it's the only person I know that I can talk about legitimately. I have lost everything I've owned twice in my life. Once from an accident, and then secondly from a divorce. And the next thing I know, I'm extremely deep in debt again. You know, up into several $100,000 deep in debt again. Trying to figure out how in the world what just happened, you know. You know, things about divorces and stuff like that, a lot of people never climb out of it. They're always stuck in that routine, and I said, I'm not going to be one of those people. I buckle down, and I've told people this in the past, you know, don't try to hide anything. You know, for 7 years, I busted my tail. I worked anywhere between 8 and 16 hours a day. And y'all heard me say, I didn't go out to eat. I didn't buy Coca-Colas. I didn't buy tobacco. I didn't buy alcohol. I mean, I didn't just go to town because I wanted to go to town. Didn't go shopping. Didn't buy something because I wanted it. You know, I literally would get a paycheck. I would come home and I did what's called snowballing my debt. I picked the one with the highest interest rate, and I dumped as much money out of my paycheck into it as I could and still pay my other bills. It would leave me with almost zero at the end of the week. But I did that, guys, and a lot of people, my family, I'll say this up front, my family was probably one of the most critical ones to me. They would always tell me, Danny, you should take your wife out to eat. You should do this. You should take a vacation. You should. And I told them, I said, if I do those kind of things, I'm not being able to pay my place off. You know, a lot of y'all know my story. My wife, at some point, she got cancer. We spent 6 years doing cancer. I spent a lot of money on cancer. Even though I was going through cancer with my wife, I gave her the best treatment that I spent every dime I could on her cancer, everything for her. It was quite common, quite common for me to spend a couple $100 a week just in organic products for her when she was alive at a health food stores and stuff like that. I spared no expense. I still paid my notes, I still paid my bills, but when I did the snowball debt thing, when I paid off my highest interest rate debt, you know, I dropped down and I would actually double up the money that I was just paying on that last bill. I would not look at it as free money because I paid something off. I took what I was paying on that one, and I actually added it to what I was paying on the other one, and before you knew it, even though we were doing cancer and treatments and everything like that, we were debt free in 7 years. A couple $100,000 debt free in 7 years. It was at that point that me and her could do what we needed to do. I didn't have to work to be able to, I didn't have to punch a clock every day. If she was deathly ill and I needed to be there to take her to the doctor, I could do that, and it was not a problem. And then today, Wanda and I, you know, we work here around our place. We don't actually, physically, we can't hold a physical job. Both of us have disabilities that prevent us from being able to do a job every day, you know, 9 to 5 job every day. We do what we can do on the homestead here. It looks like we accomplish a lot, And we do accomplish a good bit, but it's nothing compared to what I'm used to doing as an individual. We work probably 5 hours a day. You know, I will say we probably get 5 to 6 hours a day manual labor in. The rest of the time is spent doing our YouTube videos, stuff where we can just sit. We don't have to actually be out doing anything physical. We've learned as a team to function together to be able to accomplish what we accomplish. We complement one another in whatever we do. And we don't waste money in any aspect. You know, we don't take trips, we don't do vacations, we don't go out to eat, we don't do all these kind of things. You know, we don't go to the store buying chips and cookies and Cokes, and Wanda will get a splurge every now and then, and she'll get a Happy, and she'll get her a drink, and she might get her a pack of cookies or something like that. We don't buy coffees, we don't buy lattes and all this kind of stuff. We don't go by the fast food place and buy hamburgers and French fries and all these kind of things. We don't do that kind of stuff. Because what money we do have is too hard to earn now at our age. Neither one of us get any type of assistance from the government. We don't get any kind of assistance at all, period. If we don't work, we don't eat. And that's actually scriptural. The Bible says if a man don't work, he shouldn't eat. If a man doesn't provide for his family, the Bible says he's worse than an infidel. I mean, these are all things these are not Danny theology, these are in the Bible. You know, we can't all be debt-free. I mean, I'm not debt-free. I have a tractor note, you know, I got a car note. There's different things I do have, and it's not because I have to have them. I mean, they're actually assets for me. They make life easy for us. And they don't strain us financially. They're tangible objects. If at any point I can't pay for that tractor, they can come get it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. That car, if we can't pay the note on it and they come get it, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I guess today I'm trying to say, you know, financial success is whatever it has to be for you as an individual. Financial success can mean different things to different people, like I said earlier. I encourage people to get out of debt. And I know for some people that's very difficult because they've sunk themselves so deep in debt till they don't know how they'll ever get out. Times have changed. Like I mentioned before, my grandkids will never be able to do what I did. I mean, when I started out, I told you I was in a 12 by 56 house trailer. I bought land, it was $750 an acre. And I was like, oh my God, it is so expensive, you know. And 10 years later, it was $2,000 an acre. If I had only known that it was going to jump that much, I would have bought more. But I didn't. And now it's $10,000 an acre in places here, you know, more than that in some places. And that's why I say our grandkids will never have the opportunities that we had. Today, what we earn and what things cost are not balanced. What things cost is way up here and what we earn is way down here. You know, it doesn't weigh out anymore. So that makes it extremely difficult for the younger generation to be able to own and to have things. And it's no wonder that many of them have to live with mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, or the family has to will them a piece of property or something. There's nothing wrong with that. If the family has land and they can do that, that's a good thing to help somebody get a good start. But you know, if somebody wills something to you, then don't just go out and sell it because you get tired of living there. You know what I mean? Make sure that you handle it wisely. But just today, guys, I know I've gone long. I really hadn't told anybody what to do with anything financially, and that was my goal. I mean, but I think we need to realize that money falls through our fingers just like sand does. and we need to back off. The eye-opener for me was I took what I was purchasing at one point in my life and I figured it for a year. When I was going to work at a particular place, and I would always stop by this little convenience store in the morning, and I would get a biscuit and egg sandwich and a cup of coffee, and you know, I did that for a year going by that place because it took me a year to build this one building. And I stopped one day and I said, when I was doing my taxes, I said, you know, I can write that off. I mean, technically I could. And I said, you know, let me figure up just what I spent on eats. And eating an egg biscuit in the morning and a cup of coffee, and maybe I'd pick up a honey bun or something to eat during the day, you know, for a 9 o'clock snack or something like that. When I figured that up for the whole entire year that I was working on that job, it knocked me down. I was like, oh my word. Did I spend that much money just on an egg and biscuit and a coffee and a honey bun and a, oh my word, and a couple of bags of ice for the cooler, you know, stuff like that? I'm like, no, I am not doing this anymore. No, I will fix my stuff here at the house and I will take it to work with me. And that's what I started doing. And guys, little things like that, you know, a Coca-Cola a day, you know, a bottle of water a day, a latte a day, you know, a mocha a day, a pack of cigarettes a day, a can of Copenhagen a day, you know, a case of beer a week or whatever people drink. I mean, guys, these things nickel and dime us to death, and at the end of the year we can't figure out why we can't have what the man down the road has, and we both do the same job, and he has lots and I can't have that. Well, it all depends on how you manage what you have. God in His Word plainly teaches us that He expects us to be a good steward. He has many stories in the Bible about stewardship. He has many sayings in the Bible, quotes and stuff. You know, He said one of them is, there are those that always cast their bread upon water, but yet they increase. There are always those people who give. They're always giving, but yet they always have. You know, God loves a cheerful giver. But it doesn't mean that everybody is to be a giver. There are different gifts in the Bible. I was sitting in a pastor's office one time, and a gentleman was in there, and he said, Pastor, I want to be a missionary. I want to go to the mission field. And he said, why? You're a doctor. He goes, but I just want to be a missionary. And the preacher said, sir, do you even understand what you're saying? You're going to be a missionary. You're going to make zero. You're going to have to depend on somebody else to send you money. He goes, I don't care. He goes, no, you say you don't care because right now you're making a lot of money and you don't have any worries. He said, I would not suggest you be a missionary because God has given you the ability to help people in the doctoring world, and you're financially able to help the churches through your income where you go to church at. He said, God has blessed you financially with an ability to make lots of money and to help people at the same time. Now, I'm not telling you you can't be a missionary. I'm just telling you I don't think it's a wise decision. You better pray about it before you do it. And I talked to the guy several years later, and he said that was probably the greatest advice I had ever got. He said, I took a couple of mission trips and went on mission trips, and once I got there and realized what life was really like, man, I am so glad I didn't quit my practice and do that. You know, so some people God gives the ability to make money. It's just their ability to do it. And some people, I don't care how hard they work, they're never going to be financially successful. It's just, God has a plan for everybody. We just have to figure out where we fit in that plan. So guys, I don't want to keep Porch Time going any longer today. I don't want to way past my time, I know. But I just want us to understand that don't look down on yourself if you don't have what the next man has. Find out what financial success and financial security means to you. I have a video out called The Journey. If I can find it and get the link, I will put it up here in the cards. The little thing up here, you hover your mouse over, it'll show up right there. If I can find that, I'll put it up there. It's my thoughts on living in a world and surviving financially. It's a video that I made. I made it way several years ago, and a lot of people have told me they really like that video. It tells you my thoughts about where I stand on a lot of things financially. Guys, I love you. Don't look down on yourself because you don't have what the next person has. Figure out what your financial success and your financial security mean to you, and enjoy life to the best of your ability. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.